it provides, has provided a payment mechanism, a financial mechanism for who is to be, for the employees that are to carry out the business of the authority. Among other things, it's done that. And to carry out the mission of the authority. But in West Volusia and Southeast, to provide, this goes to the workers' comp question a few minutes ago, to provide for the payroll, that kinds of things, you've used a leasing agency which serves, in some respects, as the functional equivalent of the CDB for that kind of administrative role. You could envision a separate or reformulated CDB that would encompass the other authorities. This could, not all at one time, but it could be occasion for reformulating, not the abolition of the authorities, although that's a matter of control within the legislature, but the structure within which they operate, and particularly the administrative structure. They could be public employees. I don't think I would. I'm not trying to lead you in the result. I'm also trying to say not to take anything off the table.
Bernadette, back to you. I serve on the hospital board, and annually I fill out a board disclosure form. And as we were talking earlier, the physician serves on that board, and I serve on that board, and I happen to be a patient because I have to disclose that as part of my disclosure for the corporate. Does this organization or any of these organizations that we're trying to see it here, but specifically the tourism authorities, do they do board disclosure? Well, because it came through loud and clear that they needed to here.
Well, there's a few things to answer that. Number one, all of the advertising authority boards, James Moore and Company as auditors, we distribute a related party confirmation to every single one of them along with the executive director, where we ask them we do it, just as auditors. It's a good audit step. In addition to that, though, there are requirements under state statutes that I think Mr. Eckert can probably explain more eloquently than I can, in that, if they have certain, because there's a lot of different rules, if, like, you can't refrain from voting on anything. You have to disclose it, but you still have to vote. You can't say, well, I'm not voting. Well, it's different depending on the kind of entity. If you're a special district, then you're supposed to abstain from voting. Okay, there's all different rules, and I'm not as good at
on the particular organization.
Right,
but you do require them as part of your audit then to do
it's a confirmation that we send to them and ask to them to complete, and we control it, and we've been doing that for years.
Okay, all right. And then public records, how do you test to ensure that they're keeping public records? Do you ask for a week's worth of email? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, it's real easy to figure out they don't have them when we ask for them and they can provide them. That's like a really good clue that they're not there. A lot of times, for instance, it's not that often as auditors that we'll actually go back to ask to listen to an audio of a meeting. But there were so many instances, and we were running into problems, we were running into issues, we were trying to get clarification, we would read the minutes, and we could not tell from the minutes. Or we would look at the minutes, and the minutes didn't say that someone made a motion, voted, seconded, and here's the vote 5, whatever. There would just be, there's a discussion. So then we would try to go back to the minutes so that we could get a clear idea what happened in instances in which they were missing. And of course we could notice pretty readily that communications were happening that was not on the SVAA email system. That was not the email that the executive director used. It was a personal email account. And so we don't usually check that,
That's
actually.
what my
I don't
next question was,
usually,
is that something that you routinely check? When you audit any of the authorities, do you?
not generally, or the county. I mean, we usually check for public record things as it relates to, like if you're bidding a big project, and we make sure, if that's one we select for testing, we make sure it was appropriately advertised and what, based on it, we'll do, yeah. But normally, I'm not just testing public record.
Okay, well, it's a concern, Mr. Manager, to me, because I don't know what the capacity of the ad authorities are to maintain what the public records require to be maintained. And I think we need to take a look at that if in fact that has happened, if they have enough capacity in their system to maintain that level that makes them obligated to provide for public records. I'm not sure that I don't know how, I know how we do it. I mean, you go back, you can search, since the beginning of our computer system, but I don't know if I was to go to SVAA or HA or West Volusia and say, we had this email conversation 2 years ago, can you pull that up for me? I'm wondering if they could.
My experience is they probably could. But I don't think lack of expertise or staffing is an excuse not to follow the law. So you have some fundamental issues here. One is I do believe, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but I do believe that put it this way, sometimes don't hear you say, it's long before I got here, and you can't offend people. Long before I got here, okay? I think that you gave the money over to these organizations, and from what I can understand, people tell me historically they wanted autonomy and you gave it to them.
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty true.
it depends on what you mean by autonomy. I think there may be people who think that once you set the budget, we will do whatever we want as we feel. Now, they're supposed to follow the law, but they're going to feel that they're sort of independent. Well, independent means that they may not, they may not want to go along with things that you believe need. So there's two things. One, I think they have to follow the law. Number two, they may not want to, there may be some philosophical differences. And I also think that follow the law to a certain degree, and you'll see Dan's hair when you get gray, will be an interpretation of what people think follow the law means. I think the county this county, in my opinion, goes out of its way to cross every T and dot every I when it comes to following the law. I will tell you, there are probably places who don't go as far as we do, and maybe they can make the argument they're still following the law. So you're used to that standard. Now, one of my recommendations would be that you have to tell me as manager how far you want to go philosophically. For example, like the whole thing with raises, or whether those employees should follow like a job description that meets our standards. I mean, I do think those things should be in place. People will probably balk at that. The next thing is what we could do, I think, is look at things like how they keep public records and all that, and decide, do we want to, because they could probably afford this through just some administrative charge to them, do we do a uniform system for them? Where we say, this is how you're going to keep these digitally, not on tape, these recordings, and that we want someone professional that goes to their meetings that takes minutes. Because I will tell you right now, we had some real problems here because some of the minutes we got, that if you listened to the tape and you read the minutes, you'd think they were two different meetings. And so, you could say, well, what we want is we want a certain standard, and maybe you get someone professionally that goes around, I'm just thinking out loud here, that they always record them digitally so that everyone has it, and maybe someone professionally takes the minutes for them, that we all have faith in, and that you want them all warehoused someplace so that whether, you have an understanding of how they're going to be warehoused. I think these issues about personal email, you know how hard it is for us to keep up here with all the law changes. In some ways, I am not going to say that I blame them in a sense. In some case, I think it is ignorance about what they think they're required to keep or not, and whether they use their own email, whatever. We may have to say, look, this is the standard policy, this is how you have to follow it, and give them guidelines.
Well, I agree with you completely, and I think that what points out here to me is that perhaps we have some responsibility too, as a
Yes, I think we
county,
do.
to be a little more engaged in the operations of those tourism authorities. That, you know,
Well, and if I could interrupt just for a minute, because I went through my report so quickly. Yesterday, I read it word for word. And the comment that we had about Robert's Rules of Order, I mean, really our recommendation, we had said that we recommend authority board members receive instruction and training as to how to properly conduct meetings and fulfill their responsibilities as board members in accordance with all state statutes and the private ordinance which created the authority.
oh, I think we have to do that as a minimum, and I think we just have to, as a county, be more engaged. There isn't, our citizens look to this county as transparent leaders. We are transparent leaders in this county. Our personal lives, to some extent, are open books. Our professional life as county council members certainly are. Our calendars are available, our email is available. We're responsible for expenditures, and we're responsible to make sure that the budget is met, and we have got to, I think, engage more fully in this operation. So that will be my comments on it, but thank you, it was an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norley. Mr. Wagner?
I don't have much more to add other than thank you. Obviously, it's been a difficult task, but one in which I think you've done very well. So thank you for that. I won't put you under the gun for your minutes. My only, like anything, it's a process when something like this happens. I think there was a little bit of confusion on my part as far as the what rights the media has to information before a council member has that information. I won't lie, I had some serious issues. I'm still trying to figure those out myself. But I think staff was also figuring those out too. So I'm not going to say staff did anything wrong, but I think this is a good lesson for us. For the future, anytime, especially something like this that we're going through, at a minimum, all council members should receive a copy of that information. Now, if it's an internal audit and it's information a council member shouldn't have, like if you're working with staff, I don't believe you should be under the sunshine laws as far as releasing that information. If I'm being told I can't have that information, a newspaper shouldn't allow it as well. I mean, that's something, I think if we're going to take that position, things, Dan, just so you understand, there are things that were given to the media that I thought should have been given to council members. And sunshine laws, and the media saying this is, sunshine, I should be provided this information. Well, if we make that decision to give it to the media, the council members should have it. That's my point. So, I'm not saying staff did anything wrong at all.
No, we
This has
don't.
been a difficult process, but we need to take it at that.
Well, Mr. Wagner's right. In fact, Ms. Cusack brought this up to me. I know in the beginning, there was one time when honestly, like this past each other, and we gave the material, and Dave and I talked about the fact that it's one of the rare times that we meant to send it to council and got so busy that we didn't send it out. I will tell you that sometimes the media could, which is their job, they can read something and read something into it that to us, it's just, we don't read anything into it at that point. And here's the weird thing that happened to us here, is that, and I appreciate the fact that you're sensitive to this, is that this was a little new for me. We were like helping to participate in the audit in a way that I'm not used to because of how these records were, and because I also wanted to make sure that we were moving diligently in case there is, one, because we have to stop the bleeding, and two, in case there's any kind of criminal implications. So we actually start doing things that in some cases Bernadette would have done and we would not have been involved with. But there's no way she would have found all that stuff that quick. And so we got into that. I will tell you, lesson learned. I guarantee you that if we give them anything, we will make sure that you get it, okay? And then also, it just got dependent on what we got asked. Some people ask us for things and other people didn't ask us, and we give to who asked us,